Welcome to the Orem Business Alliance, Meet the Money. My name is Peter J. I'm the Director of Economic Development at Utah Valley University. I run the Business Resource Center. We also have Nate Prescott on here. He's the President of the Orem Business Alliance, an analyst with the Economic Development for Orem City. This is our second Orem Business Alliance meeting. We had our first Orem Business Alliance luncheon in March here at the Business Resource Center. We missed April with what was happening with the COVID-19. The Orem Business Alliance has been sending emails out to all the Orem businesses, several thousand of them, of all the updates on different grant programs and loan opportunities, federal grants and state opportunities to help small businesses in the Orem community. We're here to help. We're working with the other chambers of commerce as well, and with the Governor's Office of Economic Development. So this meeting right now is a Meet the Money, where we got several banks on the phone. We'll let them introduce themselves, and they'll talk about different tools and opportunities they have to help businesses, especially in this economic crisis. Let's go first to you, Nate. Let you introduce yourself a little bit more. Nate's the president, and he'll be running the Orem Business Alliance going forward. So go ahead, Nate.
Cool, thanks. So yeah, I'm Nate Prescott. I'm the economic development analyst for the city of Orem, and I'm going to be in charge of the Orem Business Alliance from here on out. So from what we've been doing as the Orem Business Alliance and from the city, we've been trying to keep all the businesses in the city informed and up to date about the changing situation in the last couple of months. And so by the ways we've been doing that is by sending out emails every couple of days. We've been sending out emails to all of the businesses that we have information for. And so if you're not receiving our emails, I'm going to put a link up soon. And are people watching this right now? Can they see the chat?
Yeah, you can click on the chat at the bottom.
Okay, I'll put links up so that if you're a business in Orem and you're not receiving our emails, I'll put the link up and you can sign up and you'll be automatically entered into receiving those emails. We also have a website specifically for business in Orem during the coronavirus, and it's got all up-to-date webinars that are going on. It's got all the funding opportunities, and it's got information and a lot of resources on there. So I'll put that link in the chat as well, and that's kind of what we're doing. We're just trying to keep everyone informed of opportunities and everything that's going on right now and what's available for Orem businesses. So I'll put those links in the chat, and you'll be seeing a lot more of me from here on out.
Okay, thanks, Nate. Okay, let's go to have our panelists introduce themselves then and talk about some of the opportunities with their banks and what they can do to help small businesses. We got Sara Stoffers, Dan Bennett, Jared Silverio. Maybe we'll start with you, Sara, and then Dan, and then Jared.
Great. So my name is Sara Stoffers, and I'm the lending manager at Business Loans of Utah. And Business Loans of Utah is a non-traditional lending source designed to help businesses where banks cannot help them. So when we get into it, frequently I'll be deferring to Dan and Jared because their rates and terms are designed to be most favorable of any in the market. And so ours are good, but not as good as theirs, because our goal is to get into their hands because their pockets are the deepest.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so my name is actually Sean Ashby. Dan is my boss. He had something come up, so he asked me to jump on this call. But yeah, I'm glad to be here and part of this. We're headquartered out of Provo, have branches all up and down the Wasatch Front. Well, I guess Utah County, I should say, down in Fillmore and in St. George. We're an active SBA lender. I'm a vice president and specialty banking loan officer is what we call it. So I focus directly on doing SBA loans and USDA loans for small businesses. So we primarily have focused on SBA stuff. USDA does serve a purpose, but there's some restrictions there for needing to be a rural area and that kind of stuff. So they're a little bit fewer and far between. But yeah, the SBA 7A loan program has helped. Very beneficial for businesses that are starting up. It's some working capital, need to refinance some debt, that kind of stuff. And then we've done both of those SBA products for a long time, and have seen a lot of success from it. So.
Go ahead.
Sorry, did you say go ahead, Peter?
Yeah, go ahead, Jared Silverio.
Okay. So yeah, Jared Silverio. I'm with Central Bank. I'm the SBA manager here. Central Bank recently promoted the former manager of the SBA group here, Deborah Lamb, just retired a couple weeks ago. She was here with the bank for 45 years, so I got some big shoes to fill. But yeah, excited to be on the panel here. Central Bank, just a little quick background. It's a community bank headquartered here in Utah and Provo as well, just like Rock Canyon. So our corporate offices are. The bank is privately owned, and the same family owns it. They started the bank in 1891. All of our offices are located here in Utah County, from Payson to Lehigh, and kind of everywhere in between the major cities. So, like Rock Canyon too, we're SBA preferred lender. So we're able to act on behalf of SBA on a lot of our 7A loans, and cuts down the time frame of being able to do the loans that way. We're active in both the 7A and the 504 markets, and we can talk a little bit about those, the differences in those if we want to later, but able to help out small businesses quite a bit. We do all types of SBA lending, from commercial real estate purchases to business acquisitions, equipment purchase. We'll fund startups with working capital. We'll do debt refinance to kind of help recapitalize balance sheets of companies that need that. So excited to be here, and let us know if you have any questions.
Okay, thanks, Jared. Sarah, did you want to go into more details about Blue, or did you want me to just start going on questions?
No, I'm happy to do that. I have a couple slides to show, so I'm going to try and share my screen, and we'll see if I have the tech skills that we need. Can you see the presentation?
Now we can see the screen fine.
Okay, and put it in presentation mode. Okay, so Business Loans of Utah is created in partnerships with traditional lenders and our cities and counties. And so first, the why of Blue. So many local businesses lack financing opportunities that they need to stabilize and grow their business. There's many businesses that are not yet bankable. And so Blue was created with that in mind. And you're going to see the logos on the bottom of the presentation. Those are the participating communities as we speak. Additional communities can participate. So if there's anyone outside of Provo, Orem, Spanish Fork on the call, then please reach out to your local communities and invite them to participate, or you can reach out to me and I will initiate that conversation. We're in the talks with some other communities right now in counties to get them to come on board, but we're a relatively new loan program created in 2018 to really augment the efforts that the Utah Micro Loan Fund was doing, and to better provide capital when the businesses aren't yet bankable. So like I mentioned, we work with our banks and local governments to support economic development by providing small business loans to businesses. And this is where we get our money. We receive money from financial institutions like the banks on the line or credit unions that wish to invest in our program. We call them Class A lenders. We get money directly from cities and counties. Their contribution is matched 6-to-1 by the remaining funds in the Blue Fund. And then we have some of our own money in the loan program as well. The types of loans we offer are your typical loans. We have equipment, fixtures, furniture, equipment, inventory, asset purchases, working capital, accounts receivable, real estate purchase, and leasehold improvements. And one that we've found is quite needed in the market for businesses that aren't bankable is refinancing high interest debt. And so we do offer debt consolidation as well. And our minimum loan amount is $50,000. That is the minimum because the Utah Microloan Fund, UMLF.com, they begin their loan maximum is $50,000. So we really are trying to pick up the ball where they left off. And our maximum loan amount for businesses in the Utah County cities, Spanish Fork, Orem, and Provo is $175,000. That could go up in the future depending on how much additional funding the cities put in or if the county chooses to participate at a later date. The way we price our rates is we look at the SBA maximum rates, and we usually look at 7A products, and we will look at the SBA maximum rate, and that's about where we start, and then we'll risk rate it based on the loan. The cap rate is 18%. Our average rates on loans are about 10 to 18%. So as I mentioned before, we're helping the people the banks can't. So these are usually borrowers that are higher risk, and we intentionally price our rates above bank because we want you in their books and in the bank lending products once you're ready for them, because they really do have the widest variety of products and the best rates in town. So we're not here to compete with them. So frequently when I'll talk to people, if I sense they're bankable, I'm going to call up Jared or Sean on the phone and I'm going to say, I have a business that I think you should talk to, and I'll screen you and get you connected with the right person. So even if you're not appropriate for us, I'm happy to do that. And then our maximum term is 5 years, but our loans are designed with balloon payments, and we amortize on the schedule of the life of the collateral, and we try and typically follow what the 7A type of amortization is. So that means we would amortize usually on a 7-year schedule for equipment, or if it's real estate backed loan, then it would be a 25-year schedule. But there'd be a balloon payment up to 5 years. Sometimes we go less, but usually it's 5 years. And again, that's designed to get businesses in bankers' portfolios as soon as they're ready to, as soon as they're bankable. And we do not have prepayment penalties on our loans. So if you do pay off early because you get refinanced by a bank, there's no penalty for that. So who should apply for Blue? Businesses that are seeking a $50,000 loan or more. We welcome you to apply, that you're located in the boundaries of a Class B lender. And as I mentioned before, in Utah County, that's Orem, Provo, and Spanish Fork. Both for-profit and nonprofit entities are welcome to apply. Nonprofits sometimes struggle to get funding in traditional lending products. And so we wanted to make sure we are eligible to nonprofit entities. You do have to have 2 years of financials to apply, but you don't have to necessarily be profitable, but we do seek a growth trend. And so that's also a key difference between the banks is profitability is not a requirement, but we do need to see growth, and you do have to be an existing business. If you're a startup business, meaning startup or less than 2 years, Utah Microloan Fund is a great resource. And then also we're seeking to help the people that are denied or not eligible for traditional lending or financing. So when I have those initial conversations, I'm going to be talking about, have you talked to a lender, especially if I see that you're a highly profitable business with multiple years in history, because if I sense that you might be bankable, I will get you into their hands to start those conversations to make sure if you can qualify for their products, we get you into their products. And who gets approved by Blue is the first step in our loan process. After you apply for Blue, I'm going to go talk to one of our participating communities. We call it community consent. So if you apply, you're an Orem-based business, I'm going to call up Nate or Kathy over there at Orem City, because the city has money in, and I'm going to make sure your business aligns with their targeted parameters. And for the most part, what our communities have told us is that's any legally operating business in their community. And so we, because the cities have money in, we'll go talk to them and make sure we have their support before we begin underwriting. And then, as I mentioned, you do have to complete an application. Our application looks similar to the documentation you're going to see with a SBA or a traditional bank type loan, because back to that point of, we want you bankable and we want you on their books. So we're going to require financials, personal finance statements, we're going to asset schedules. We do require collateral, but we are more liberal in who we will lend to than banks usually will be. And who also gets approved are the people that have the necessary cash flow to repay the loan. These are loans, they're not grants, and also collateral. And then our credit committee approves that. And this participating communities do have a vote on the credit committee. When they have the money in the fund, they're one of our voting members. And then here is information about how to apply to Blue or request additional information. So you can either contact me directly, or you can contact Nate or Cappy at Orem City, or you can contact Provo or Spanish Fork. You can contact the city as well, and they can get you in touch with me if you want more information. So it's a close partnership. My office is in Midvale. I am not in Utah County like the rest of the panel is, and so it's really important to me that you're plugged in with your local resources. So if you come to me, I'm very happy to help, but I'm going to engage your local resources because we want you to get the help to grow and expand your business. And so I will also, in the chat, I'll include the contact information, and I'll include mine, and then I'll also paste Sean's and Jared's in there as well, so you have their contact information if that's okay with them. And so that is the presentation. Peter, do you want to do a Q&A after?
Yeah, unless anyone's got a question right now for Sara. Maybe I'll just ask one real quick. How has COVID-19 affected the Business Loans of Utah lending? Because everyone, they might have lost a lot of collateral, or they lost all their revenues coming in, so their cash flow is hurt now. Would you guys still pass cash flow instead of what their current situation is to give the loans?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Business Loans of Utah was not designed to be an emergency loan program. However, we are lending. We just approved a business in Ogden because Weber County participates, and so does Ogden City. And so we just had a loan committee 2 weeks ago, and we approved a local detailing business up in Ogden. And so we are lending, but we are looking for your ability to repay the loan. And so regardless of where you go, that's a story you're going to need to tell, is how you're going to be able to repay the loan. And so, but it's good to force that question upon you, because everyone wants to stay in business, and that's a question you need to be able to answer. And so we are lending, we haven't stopped. We've lent to one of the businesses that was incubated in the BRC as well, that had a product out of there. That was pre-COVID, but we are in the process of closing a loan that began working with us before, and we're helping them. And we are not forgiving any debt, but our initial repayment terms are kinder because we understand COVID is happening. And so we're not as liberal as the PPP program, but we are offering some deferment on the front end initially to help with the impact of that, and we're adjusting our terms so to make sure we don't set someone up for failure. But yeah, we welcome applications, but we are cognizant of that. And so don't take debt if you don't think you'll be able to repay it, but we're here to help. And so is Peter, and then also the SBDC, and they want to help you answer those questions, how to make sure you stay in business and can sustain it. So thank you for that.
Hey, thanks, Sara. Let's go to Sean then, if you want to give us more details about your banking and loan opportunities.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, we are a very active 7A lender, and the 7A is just one of the products that the SBA, or the Small Business Administration, offers to small businesses throughout the country, and then some territories and different parts that are part of the United, or different areas in the United States. But yeah, I'm glad that Sara mentioned the PPP program. That's the Paycheck Protection Plan, which was authorized by the government through the CARES Act just recently. There was 2 rounds that have gone through already. The first round was $349 billion. It was allocated to small businesses to receive money to be able to make their payroll and cover some other expenses as well. That money went through in literally less than a week. It was pretty quick how it went through. And so they authorized more money, and there's still money available from the SBA. So if there's small businesses listening that need some help with that. You don't necessarily have to be an SBA eligible business to receive those funds, but you will need to provide some payroll information, which includes your W-3, your 941s, which are your quarterly reports, and then just a application and some other stuff. So it's not too bad. I mean, typically when we talk about SBA, some of the hearsay out there is that there's a lot of paperwork involved to it, and that's 100% true. There is a lot of paperwork involved to SBA loans, but the PPP program was pretty much streamlined just to get the money out as quickly as possible. So if you haven't received that that loan yet and you still want to apply for it, there is money available. So different banks, credit unions in the counties within Utah can lend as long as they're an approved SBA lender. If you don't have if you're not a member of a credit union or a customer of a bank that is a preferred lender through the SBA, go to sba.gov and you can find a list of who's been approved and that kind of stuff. So right now we're seeing that program wind down a little bit, and I don't want to speak for Jared, but he's probably seeing the same thing. There was a pretty big boom with the first round of PPP loans, and then it slowed down in the second one, which is good. You know, it means people that needed the money have it, and those that are still needing it, well, there's still money available. So that's good. And then
can I ask Sean and Jared a question real quick about that?
Sure, absolutely.
So I've heard from some Orem businesses recently that they were approved for the Paycheck Protection Program, but that they're still waiting for their money. Do you have any insights into that, like how often money is dispersed or when they should expect it?
Yeah, you know, they're probably thinking of or confusing the two loan programs that the SBA has been authorized to disperse or to work with during the COVID crisis. One is the Paycheck Protection Plan, which is the PPP loan. That one is done through the banks. It's the bank's money that's lent out, and then the SBA guarantees it 100%. There's another loan program called the EIDL, which stands for Economic Injury Disaster Loan. And that loan had a $10,000 grant component to it. And you had to apply directly to the SBA for that loan. So the banks were cut out of that. That's the one that I've heard has been a real problem or issue for a lot of businesses, is that they've either received the $10,000 grant and they're still waiting on money to come through that they've been approved for through the EIDL loan. But yeah, for the PPP loans, I mean, funding happens as soon as they're closed and signed, because that's the bank's money that's being out. But it sounds like they're probably talking about the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which they initially had promised businesses to get funding within 48 hours. And here we're probably 4 or 5 weeks after the fact, and they still haven't received funding. So I know that they are working through that. It's a little bit slower of a process. We've had a couple of customers within our bank that have received their money. But like I said, mostly they've received their $10,000 grant, and then they're just waiting on the rest of it. So.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean, is Rock Canyon Bank taking PPP loans from businesses that don't bank with Rock Canyon? I've seen some banks, they've restricted it to only working with companies that already have loans with their bank. Are you guys open to people come in and get loans with you guys?
We were kind of taking them on a case-by-case basis at that point. We wanted to make sure that, because we only allocated a certain amount of our capital to the PPP program, and as you can imagine, we've learned through that pretty quickly. So we wanted to make sure that existing customers of the bank had an opportunity to receive those funds. We have done some for people that are not current customers of the bank, but it hasn't been very many. And the feeling right now that is going throughout our bank is that we'd probably stick to just those that bank with us. And that seems to be the common theme in a lot of places, unfortunately, but it's pretty big stress on capital for our smaller banks, you know, in the area, trying to do this stuff. And there's a little bit of risk for them, because these, you know, the borrowers will see that there's no personal guarantees, there's no collateral required. They are 100% guaranteed by the SBA. However, there are some steps and documentation that we have to provide to them in order to receive payment from the SBA to make sure that those loans are paid in full or forgiven. So yeah, it's a little bit of a servicing bugger. for the community banks are not set up to do, thousands and thousands of these smaller loans. But yeah, at this time, if the situation's right, we will take an application from a customer house or someone that's not a customer of the bank. But for the most part, we've limited applications to those that bank with us right now.
Okay. So I have heard of some people banking with larger banks like Wells Fargo and stuff that have had trouble getting their PPP loans to go through. One of them tried for the past month. He finally got it to go through this last week, but he's been trying since the beginning of April to get it. And he pretty much has a service business, so all of his operating expenses were pretty much wages.
Yeah.
So it's an easy situation, but it took a month to get it through Wells Fargo to get his PPP financing. So, and a lot of companies, the PPP and the EIDL aren't enough to cover everything. They might need additional financing. Maybe Jared or Sara can step in on this too, but what's your bank doing in those situations with companies that are struggling so bad because of this, that they actually got the PPP and the EIDL, but they still need additional financing to make it through this? They were profitable in the past. Are the 7A and 504 loans still available for those type of companies?
Yeah, I can tell you, like, what we're doing at Central Bank is for current customers, we've been doing, well, prior to the PPP, we were doing a lot of deferments where we were just deferring payments for up to 6 months. On SBA loans, you could do that. One of the things in the CARES Act right now is if you have a current SBA loan, the government has actually set aside $17 billion in the CARES Act to make your payments for the next 6 months on your SBA loans. And it's principal and interest, so it's not a deferment or anything like that. They're actually making your principal and interest payments. That program is good all the way through September 27th. So if you book an SBA loan between now and September 27th, they will make their first 6 months of payments for you, or until that $17 billion runs out. So that's another thing where we were doing a lot of deferments for customers, and then when this came out, we ended their deferment so they could take advantage of that. And then, in 6 months from now, hopefully COVID's kind of subsided, but if it hasn't and things haven't come back to, the new normal, then we can look at doing deferments again as well. We are still lending, though. We're taking applications. We're actually still pretty, fairly busy with just regular 7A and 504 loan applications as well. A lot of businesses have obviously been affected, but there's a lot of businesses that haven't and have actually seen an uptick in their business and are needing additional funds for growth and things like that. So we're still accepting applications.
So let's say a business already has an SBA loan with your bank and they want to expand that loan, basically get additional financing. As long as they do that before September, that additional financing is paid for 6 months after that?
Yeah. So as long as it books by September 27th, and again, this is kind of anybody that's been involved in SBA or even the PPP specifically, that SBA changes sometimes from hour to hour on the guidance that they received. On that first day on April 3rd, when everything rolled out, it was kind of a nightmare because you're trying to get all these applications in, and then you're getting literally we got 4 emails that were updating from the Treasury and SBA, just different things. And so with SBA, the one common thing is that there's always change. Sean can attest to that, being an SBA lender. The standard operating procedures that we go by, that kind of the rule book of SBA, is typically modified every 6 months. And so your parameters and things are always changing. But for now, if you book a new loan between now and September 27th, you'll get your first 6 months of payments made for you, principal and interest by the government.
So that sounds like it'll be helpful. So another question for all of you is, during the past recession, the banks froze lending. This time, I've heard they're well capitalized and acting as normal still, even with everything that's happened. I also heard from one loan officer, though, that it's really difficult for new businesses to get any financing now. So maybe you can talk about is if you're still acting as normal with your lending opportunities, or if things are freezing up, if the opportunities have been changing.
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in and just. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. Go ahead.
So I'll speak to the people that wouldn't normally qualify for bank loans because they're newer or they weren't stable before. If anyone is interested, you're welcome to reach out to me and put together a resource list. And I know that Peter's also been really good about getting resources out through UVU. But the state's small business bridge loan program that they ran, and now they have a commercial rental assistance program. Those programs, the requirements on those are not designed for businesses that have always been in business and would typically qualify for bank financing. They accommodate your newer businesses that don't even have tax returns yet. And so that's something that you definitely want to look into and be monitoring. The newsletter I put together has links to the key websites you want to be monitoring. The best one really that I think is utah.gov/coronavirus or COVID-19, I believe. That's the best resource to be monitoring for the resources for newer businesses that haven't yet stabilized to necessarily qualify for the traditional lending. So there's that. Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so with the 7A program, there are different, I guess the 7A umbrella, there's a couple of different loan programs. One's just your traditional 7A, which has loan amounts up to $5 million. And you have express loans as well, where the government provides a smaller guarantee. It's a little bit faster process because it falls back more on the bank's individual lending policy. So those loan amounts will stay under $350,000, and then anything over $350,000 is considered a traditional or a large SBA loan. So that's something to keep in mind. One thing that you'll want to do to address the COVID situation is anytime you have a new business. So a new business per SBA guidelines is a business that's been in operation for less than 2 years. A new business is always going to be required to provide 2 years of projections for their income and expense or their profit and loss, right? So what we want to make sure that you're doing is that if you have been in operation prior to COVID, you've seen a hiccup, you've seen a disruption in your revenue sources, we want to see your projections and then the assumptions to those projections, or how you think it's going to, or how your business is going to survive after the fact, once you're able to open your doors and that kind of stuff. The more detail you can provide in that, the better it is for us sitting in our chairs, like for me and Jared, because we're going to rely heavily on what your assumptions are and make sure that they're, one, feasible, and two, that they're trending with what's going on in the marketplace. So the SBDC has been a pretty big help for a lot of customers that I've worked with, where they've gone in and they've helped them put together a business plan and work through those projections and that kind of stuff. Basically what we want to see is what you're selling, why was COVID, or why was your business disrupted by COVID? And then once you're able to open your doors, can you get back to normal, or is this going to cause an ongoing problem? For example, we're working with a manufacturer right now that wants to refinance some debt to lower the cash flow requirement that they have each month, lower their payments and that kind of stuff. They've been significantly hit by the COVID pandemic because they do a lot of business in Europe, and that's pretty much shut down their distribution channels. And a lot of manufacturers as well are having trouble getting supplies. So they've been able to quantify in their projections that, we were doing just fine, COVID hit, and as soon as those distribution channels open back up, we can resume business as normal, or like Jared said, the new normal. So I think that's what you're going to want to detail. You're going to want to show, what happened before, why did it affect your business, and how you're going to come out of it.
So when you're getting the types of loans you can get, so you can get equipment loans, inventory loans, things like that. What about working capital? How flexible are you with working capital? Is it limited to $25,000 for SBA working capital loans?
No, the working capital can be any amount. They're going to change the repayment terms on that, so it's going to be a little bit shorter of a term on that loan. But they're going to ask, the SBA is going to require us to secure it the best way we can, or as much as possible. So what they say is that if there is a collateral shortfall within the business, let's say the business needs $100,000 in working capital and they have $50,000 of equipment value that can be pledged as collateral for this loan. The SBA says that we have to secure the loan as best as possible, which means we go back to the individual's personal assets. Oftentimes that means taking a lien on their home. It isn't ideal because that lien can be tough to get rid of sometimes. But yeah, they do ask us to secure it the best way possible. Another thing that is mentioned in the SOP or the standard operating procedures from the SBA is that the lender can't, if everything checks out well and the business cash flows well and all that stuff, but the only issue is that they don't have enough collateral. The lender is not actually able to deny the loan because of lack of collateral. So that's something to take into account. I mean, a lot of banks are wanting to collateralize the loan the best they can. But if that's the only issue, then that's what the SBA is there for. They're lender of last resource, right? So, they want to make sure that businesses can get the capital that they need. So, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Cool.
Unsecured with SBA, there's a limit with unsecured, right? It's about 25,000.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. For unsecured, it's 25,000.
Okay, and then for secured, it can go. What's the max for secured? 5 million.
5 million is the max. Yes.
It can be used for working capital as long as it's secured.
Correct.
Well, Jared, we didn't let you talk about your bank very much. We kind of went to Sara, then Sean, and then we started asking questions. You want to say some more things about Central Bank and some of the different offerings?
Yeah, so I mean, similar to what Sean and I probably, well, I don't know if we really compete a ton with stuff, but we kind of have our own built-in customer bases, but we're really similar in what we do, same type of loans and things like that. And so a lot of the things he said, would be redundant if I repeated those, but yeah, with SBA, it's definitely a good product, and it's one that doesn't always fit everybody, but there are certain customers and borrowers that need that SBA. And the biggest thing with it is if you have a lack of collateral, you got the SBA guarantee, which makes the lenders a little bit more comfortable doing those loans. The biggest thing too is when you're buying, real estate or equipment or something like that, you have a lower injection. With real estate, you can get as low as 10% down. Whereas if you're going conventional, without an SBA guarantee and the bank's doing it, they're typically going to want 25 to 30% down, somewhere in that range. So a lot of businesses don't have that much capital to, invest into an asset like that, like real estate. Let's just take $1 million loan for a building. On an SBA loan, you can get into that with about $100,000 down, whereas conventionally you would need $250,000 to $300,000. So you're able to reserve some capital for working capital, for business expansion, things like that. So SBA is definitely good for that product. Like we said earlier, we do every type of SBA lending, from business acquisitions, which is kind of a big thing right now with all the baby boomers looking to retire now. And there's businesses changing hands left and right and people wanting to get out. So that's a big thing that we've actually made a big push into and done a lot of business acquisition loans. And those are ones where you can give them money to buy the business as well as provide working capital to kind of get them going as well on that. So we've done quite a few of those. We buy equipment, buy real estate, again, debt refinance. If you need to recapitalize your balance sheet, those are all things that we can do as well. Just like Sean, with the community banks, you're going to have that more personal touch and feel where, with us, I'm the guy you work with. I'm the one that's doing your loan. I'm underwriting it. I'm presenting it. Same thing with Rock Canyon. Those guys are involved heavily on the deal. And so you're not sending out your deal to different departments and different people. You're actually talking to the person that's going to work on your loan. And a lot of borrowers like that. They don't get passed off to someone else, and they don't know who they're supposed to call about what, where they are in the process. You just have one point of contact, which a lot of people seem to like quite a bit.
So what's the turnaround time with all your banks for, let's say I have a small business, I need to get financing quick. What's the turnaround time? How fast can I typically get the financing I need?
Yeah, a lot of it, I mean, for us, we're going to send out, we're going to have a phone call or a meeting and kind of talk through what your loan request is. We get you out a checklist of items we need, and then really it depends on how quickly you get that stuff back to us, the borrowers do. Like Sean said, there are a few more additional paperwork items you got to do for SBA. It's not as daunting as it looks a lot of times, because there's one form in particular, it's a personal history form that's 7 pages long, but 4 of the pages are disclosures that nobody ever reads. So really it's only 3 pages, but it looks really daunting. But there are a few more forms you got to complete. But once you get all that stuff back to the bank, like for us specifically at Central Bank, depending on the workload we get through that loan, we send you any questions we have, and then we're able to present it in the loan committee. We meet in our committees twice a week, and so we're able to go through and get those done. And I mean, typically, depending on the type of loan and all, I mean, you can get an answer within a week typically. And that's, again, assuming we get everything that we need up front.
What about you, Sarah?
So our process is probably not any faster than a bank. Really, a lot of what slows loan applications down is not providing all the documentation that's required to move forward. And that's why working with your SBDC or your BRC, or if you have other people that are familiar with the lending process, that will really help you, because that's what slows the process the most, is sending requests back and forth. So once all the information is provided, we can probably get an answer within 2 to 3 weeks, and then we can fund within maybe 4 to 6 weeks on average after we get an answer. So our loan process, from the time we've received all the information we need, I'd say to fund the loan, it would probably be about maybe 1 to 3 months, depending on the complication of the loan and the collateral and the reviews that are needed. But it's really important, if you don't understand what's being asked, that you either work with your loan officer and or SBDC counselor to get that information resolved, because it can seem long and daunting, but a lot of it is just getting the right information turned in.
Yeah. Well, since we do have Business Loans of Utah here, maybe I'll ask Jared and Sean, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, what's the ratio of successful loans versus rejected loans that you guys have? And what is the common theme that makes you reject someone's loan application?
Yeah, so I'll jump in there. For us, and I've known Jared for a little while. The commercial banking world is actually pretty small, so you get to know a lot of other officers at different banks. And Jared's the man. So he's very experienced in SBA, and if you've done SBA enough, you've been able to look at enough applications to know here are the eligibility issues that are going to pop up, and you'll be able to really tell right from the get-go whether or not it's going to get approved, at least through the SBA side. Sometimes your loan committee can have a different opinion or something like that on cash flows or type of collateral or something about the business that just doesn't seem right, liquidity or leverage or something like that. But for us, we're probably, in applications that we've taken, we've fully underwritten, and we've sent into the SBA for final approval and all that stuff, we're probably high 90s of a success rate. But that might be a little misleading, because we do see a lot of applications that don't really get any legs, because we know there's issues that the SBA is going to have with them. So I think the big thing is to find a loan officer at your bank or your credit union, or whether it's Rock Canyon or Central Bank, that has done enough SBA loans to be able to walk you through the eligibility requirements, because that's where you can get caught up. And a loan that should take 45 days takes 6 months, because you're working through how to document the loan properly to make sure that it's eligible for SBA. So, a good SBA lender, someone that's been around in the system for a long time, understands the standard operating procedures. Their success rate, Jared's probably 99.5%. I'm probably 98%, somewhere around there. But that doesn't mean I haven't turned down a lot of deals that never actually made it to SBA.
Wow. So those 2% are the ones that Sara would be looking at then to get rejected. So, okay.
Yeah, to that point, Peter, in the last 90 days, I just did a summary for Weber County, and I think I touched 13 businesses, and 2 of those are resulting in an application from us. But most of the others, I was able to help them actually get connected with lenders that were suited for their needs. So we do help, but frequently, like I said, I'm referring out. And I don't want to take it down our path unless it's the right loan for our path. The way Sean described what he and Jared do, we're going to have high approval ratings at credit committee because I'm going to take the loans down to credit committee that are really suited for our product. But like one of our local businesses, I realized even though he had some credit issues, he wanted equipment, and one of our big national banks was able to get him funded in less than a week, get him a approval, but he came to us to apply. So a lot of it, just like Sean said, is finding the right product and for your needs. And that really comes from that relationship with your banker. You need to place the value of networking with your local lenders and build that relationship equally to building your clients and sales, because there's a lot of value and experience in the lending world. People want to help you, and you can fast track your applications if you have someone that knows what they're talking about.
Okay. We only have a few minutes left. We're planning on lasting about 45 minutes to an hour. It's almost been an hour now. So maybe all of you take any last things you want to say, and if anyone has any other questions, you can type them in the chat. And then let's let everyone have a few last words. Start with you, Sara, then Sean, then Jared.
Okay, great. So pointing to the chat, I've provided everyone's contact information, and I also provided the coronavirus.utah.gov/business. That's where you can find the resources that are specifically designed, whether it's federal, state, or local resources to help you due to the impact of coronavirus. Please reach out if you have any questions. Like I said, I'm happy to help you. If our loan product is the best for you, then I'll get you started down that application. And if not, I might be calling up Jared or Sean to try and plug into theirs to get the best products, or we can have a 3-way call to really determine the best path to get you the money you need to grow your business and stabilize it.
Yeah, I would just echo that. I mean, if there are questions about the application process, whether you're going through PPP loan or the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, even though the banks aren't part of that application, if there's something we can do to help explain the regulations or how to fill out the application correctly and that kind of stuff, yeah, give me a call. I'd be happy to help you through this. You know, as an SBA lender, I kind of feel like it's our duty to help as many small businesses as we can, even though they may not necessarily be customers of our bank. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. Good communication with your loan officer, making sure they understand the SBA eligibility and their regulations and that kind of stuff will make your life a lot easier, and it makes theirs a lot easier as well. So.
Yeah, and I'll just finish up. Sean's being humble. He's an awesome, great loan officer as well, and he's probably higher than 98% approval. But the one thing I would say is, as a borrower, if you're out there looking for an SBA loan, when you're kind of interviewing banks and you're calling around, make sure that that lender is, you can ask them if they're a SBA PLP lender, and that's preferred lending partner of SBA. And that's where you basically, the bank has a track record of doing SBA loans well and hitting the eligibility requirements, to where SBA lets you use a delegated authority to approve those loans. So in most instances, we're able to approve the loan in lieu of SBA. If you're a lender that's not as familiar with SBA and you don't have a PLP authority, then you have to send your loan into SBA to be approved. And that can sometimes take, other places I've worked with, it's taken 4 to 6 weeks just to get an answer back. And that's between a lot of back and forth with the SBA. So definitely try to find a lender who is experienced in SBA and is a preferred lending partner or a PLP approved lender. That will make your life much more enjoyable when you're going through that SBA process. And like Sean was saying, Rock Canyon is a PLP lender, and so is Central Bank. So we definitely are here to help any borrowers out. If you got questions and maybe you have an idea and you just want to run it by somebody, feel free to give either Sean or myself a call. And like he said, that's what we're kind of here for, is to help train borrowers as well and help them to know kind of what they should be looking for and what they should be doing when they're looking to start a business or grow their business.
Okay, well, thanks. I think this has been helpful. I own a small business myself, and I have SBA loans, and this has given me a couple ideas. So that's what we hope, is that other small businesses get some ideas out of this too, of how to do some things with their finances. So let me give Nate a couple minutes now, because he's the president of the Orem Business Alliance. Orem Business Alliance has monthly meetings. It's a network for Orem businesses. So Nate, if you want to say a couple words, and then we'll end. You're on mute right now.
Yep, sure. So, so like you said, this is the first of many meetings. You know, we started a couple months ago, and then we had to take a month off. But yeah, we're going to be doing this every month, and you can sign up to receive the emails. I put it in the chat, and you can also find it on the orem.org website. Yeah, we think that these webinars are going to be really helpful, and in the future, once we can all meet in person, they're going to be really helpful networking events, and they're going to give you all the information and resources that you need to be successful in Orem. So hope you stay tuned to all these meetings and webinars that we have, and we hope that everyone participates.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining the call today. Thanks to our panelists, the banks, and the Orem Business Alliance. I was just facilitating this one time, but Nate's going to be doing it from now on.
Yep.
Thank you all for joining. We're here to help with the UVA Business Resource Center, SBDC, banks, Blue, and the city. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.